Excuse me. All right, so starting a new series here called the Sharpening Stone. Give you a little introduction to what the series is going to be. This is going to be a critique of all of my favorite YouTube personalities. Again, these are my heroes, my very favorite. If I don't like you, I don't watch your channel, or you bug me on Twitter or something like that, I'm not going to talk about you and just pile on. These are for the people that I align with. I reflect, or I mirror their videos on my Twitter page. Oftentimes, the things I'm talking about align with them, or I even come from them. So there's just always some sort of nugget, some sort of the way they're perceiving it, something that I feel that's missing, that would really can make their sort of their point of view comprehensive to everything. And so starting with today, we're going to start with probably my longest and favorite YouTube personality, which is David Vose. I followed him for nearly 4 years now, I think, or at least over 3 years. He came at a very important part of my life. I had been through a huge spiritual journey right before I met him, or not met him, but came upon his channel. I found great peace and power in my life again. I guess the word is more like, understanding probably more than anything. But I'd come a long way, and it wasn't Judeo-Christian in any way, even though that was my upbringing. But what had led me sort of out of the darkness was not Judeo-Christian, and so I kind of had to solve some of those mysteries. And one of the biggest mysteries was, how wrong it seemed that we were reading the Bible, especially the Old Testament. It seemed like if a fifth grader read the Old Testament, it would be a completely different thing as far as his interpretation goes. But because of the way we've indoctrinated ourselves through culture and whatnot, like for instance Cain and Abel, these stories have really what they are, to be honest with you. If you just read them from beginning to end, it's a quite simple story. And I wasn't able to see that until I saw David Vose. And so if you don't know his point of view, the biggest point of view, he kind of does two things. He does a lot of biblical study, and then he does some modern study. In both retrospects, he talks about that the powers that be are lying to us. I would agree 100%. And he would say that almost they lie about everything, I would say, except for this one thing, of course. And the biblical side, which is the most important to me, or where he touched me the most, was this idea or the truth that the Old Testament God, the God that led Moses out of Israel and out of Egypt and into Israel through Joshua and all those wars and all the circumcisions and all that blood, okay, and all that human sacrifice. All those hundreds of thousands of people died at the hands of this freak being in the Old Testament, which Satan, Jehovah, it is a Satan named Jehovah, basically, is the Old Testament God. That's his perspective, that's my perspective, and we're going to go through that in a lot more depth on other videos that you see on this channel. Huge part of my theology. Here's where he gets messed up, though, and it's funny because shortly after I got into his theology, I started getting into flat earth and doing this research myself. There's just nothing I won't ask myself. It did appeal to me because I know when I looked at the sky, I didn't get the feeling that those were planets. I didn't get the feeling that that was a whole infinite solar, not only solar system, but infinite galaxy upon galaxy upon galaxy going on before my eyes, and I would see the same thing over and over again. And Orion is one of the most comforting constellations to me. Every time I look at it, I feel comfortable. And it never goes away. Its spatial analysis within the stars of each other never, ever changed for thousands of years. And so I knew there was something to this. Long story short, it took about 3 years for David Vose to become aware of flat earth. And by that time, I was well versed in defending myself on Twitter almost every day. And so it was disappointing to see him, do what so many of my heroes do with flat earth, which is become completely intimidated, don't do the research, and then just become fifth graders. They just start name calling. I mean, if you want to see your greatest hero just turning into an obliterating idiot and have no reason and just start name calling and just look like what they looked like when they were a fifth grader, start talking to them about flat earth. I mean, it is the biggest trigger out there. There is no greater trigger. You will piss everybody off talking flat earth, no doubt about it. Okay, And Dave Vose is a prime example. As soon as he got crossed with this, I mean, the reason just went out the window. He was talking about Archimedes, and we're like, you know, of course, any flat earthers like, we have 200 proofs just with Eric Dubé alone. You're going to talk about Archimedes for this? It's just, you know, it's comical. But, you know, he was unforgiving and called everyone an idiot. And so not only did I realize his cosmology and his theology was missing a huge part, and then I was able to see the holes through his narration, but I could also see that he was struggling with it. It was hard for him, and I saw that happen with so many of my heroes. But his is very specific, okay? His is interesting because he wants to believe in aliens, which is weird because most people that read Gnostic texts, extra canonical texts as we call it, whether it's you know, Enoch or anything from the Dead Sea Scrolls, so on and so forth, anything that's not in the canon, the 66 books of the canon, really starts believing in flat Earth, or starts thinking that they are at the center of the universe. Because you can't deny Enoch, which is the most famous of the extra canonical works, or Ezekiel. You know, these are the two witnesses in all the Bible that have a testament of them, you know, leaving what I call the firmament, as they call it too, but going into the heavens from here and then coming back and living to tell about it. Okay, there's only two of them, and both of them, you know, talk about the fixedness of everything in the universe, that everything has its place and it's fixed and still and steadfast and will never move, which is what I get from the constellations. I don't know about you. I don't know if you get this chaos. No, I look at the stars. Every year I see the same thing. I follow astrology. Somehow they're able to predict these things because nothing changes up there. Okay? So here's the interesting part, though. What's really compelling about what happened to David Vose is that because he wants to believe in aliens, he wants to believe in Zachary Sitchin's idea of the Anunnaki and Nibiru. And a lot of people over the last 2-3 decades have gotten hung up on this, whether you're Trey Smith, you could throw in this book as well. I don't know if you did your research on him. Sitchin came from Rockefeller School of Business. His best friends was George Soros. I tell this to people all the time just to see the reaction. I never get a reaction. I get like that stunned, you know, look on their face like you see on the Fabulous Mr. Fox when he's talking to his working friend. He's like, are you seeing? Every time I tell this, I'm like, did you know Sitchin was best friends, best schoolmates in a Rockefeller school with George Soros? King of propaganda, king of, look over here because here's what's happening over there. Okay. People think that, you know, where do we get this idea of Anunnaki? Why does it stick out in our brain? Where do we get this idea of Nibiru as it's told? Okay, there's some, if people are seeing things out there in the sky right now that is in another ball or another disc, okay, that they're calling Nibiru. But this narration of Nibiru and the Anunnaki and it being a planet where these people came down and genetically modified us, okay, you know right away. As soon as you do the science and the research of flat Earth, you can just take that out. You can take that right out. You know there's no other planets, there's no other aliens, that we are the center of the universe. Okay? That those wandering stars, as we've called them since the beginning of time, are not planets circling around any freaking stars. Okay, Venus, that wandering star that we think because it's moving different from the star trails means that it is rotating around our sun. That's the logic, okay? Venus makes a pentagon if you follow the star trail throughout the summer, throughout the year, which is why Satanists revere it, okay? Because it actually makes a perfect pentagram if you follow its trail throughout the year. You think circulating a sun? Okay. It's not from the Sumerian tablets because there's plenty of people like Heister who there's critiques out there that plainly show you that every etymologist, archaeologist, anyone that is studying Sumerian tablets and understands the language knows that Sitchin was either deliberately lying or incredibly incompetent. Incredibly incompetent. Does David Vose not know this? Did he not do this research? Is he just that hung up on aliens? Is he just that dissonant on flat Earth that he can't see that? He has brought the Holy Spirit into my body like no one else has ever done. Has ever done. He brought Jesus Christ closer to me like no one else has ever done. One other book has, okay? And that book may have been written by Jesus Christ himself. I don't know. We can talk about that some other time. But as far as a person just talking to me about his philosophy, nobody brought me closer to Jesus Christ than that man. Right there, David Vose. Okay? He lets his ego show. He lets his unchristianity show when he's unforgiving to flat earthers who are vastly more intelligent, who are the most intelligent of this truther community. Okay? They're not neophytes. They're out there doing science. They're testing their reason. They're fighting this shit on Twitter to make sure they're right. They have hundreds of reasons to believe we're not on a ball spinning at 1,000 miles per hour. And yet there is less than a handful to prove to you that we are. And most of them contradict each other. Okay? David Vose's channel perspective would be completely comprehensive and he could bring the world into epiphany. Except that he is hung up on the Anunnaki. And when he gets dark talking about the Anunnaki, he starts sounding foolish and it breaks my heart. Because he starts contradicting himself. He starts, I know his story so well that I know when he's contradicting himself. Sometimes he'll call the serpent, wise. And then sometimes he'll say Adam and Eve chose against their heavenly Father in the garden. The only person they chose against was Jehovah. Okay? But he's getting really mixed up in trying to figure out how the Anunnaki fit into the story, and they just don't. Okay? I'm going to take this to one more step, and then we're going to close it here. Flat Earthers get so pissed off. We get so mad. We get triggered because we are intelligent. Okay? Because people like David Avocado Wolf, okay, those guys came to it on their own. He was a personality beforehand. You could trust him because he believed in your health, and you could verify what he was teaching you because you could see it manifest in your own body as you lost the weight, as you became more powerful, as you understood energy, right? If you went through that track with him, and then how he's flat earth. And if you're not there with him now, you think he's a shill? Go do the science and then forgive yourself for ever doubting a man like David Avocado Wolf, okay? All you people who are pushing geopolitical bullshit out there on Twitter, okay, who don't deal with flat earth honestly first, you're just like David Vose. You look incompetent or purposely shillful, okay? Because if you knew anything about anything, you did any research about flat earth whatsoever, you would not feed me North Korea bullshit. You would not feed me Iran bullshit. I'm supposed to be scared of North Korea, who is in the longest standing treaty in the world with the United States, the Antarctic Treaty. We are in agreement with North Korea, okay, that we're going to keep Antarctica safe, secret. You get your piece, I get, but we're going to just keep everyone out, okay? We agree on that. You're going to tell me North Korea is my enemy and I should be scared of their Scud missile that went off last night, okay? All I hear on Twitter today, ballistic missile could reach Alaska. Get the fuck out of here. You think they're our enemy? You think Trump and Young aren't playing golf laughing about the nuclear hoax that they hold you under? They belong to the same treaty. If you do the flat earth research, you realize that there are no governments. There are no factions. All of those people at the top are in it together. Whether you're Assad, whether you're Trump, I don't care. There are no enemies. You want to tell me Russia's my enemy? You want me to care about Trump giving away secrets to Russia? We pay them $61 million a trip to our own ISS space station because we scrapped our shuttle. So we are paying the Russians to take us up to space every time right now because we don't have an active shuttle right now. Okay? You're going to tell me we're going to war with these people? All of our space technology and secrets, we're paying them $81 million to take us up there. You're a joke. If you don't get the space hoax, if you don't get the flat earth, and you're trying to push geopolitical crap, you're a joke, okay? Because the flat earthers know it's us against them, okay? It's not Syria, it's not North Korea to be afraid of, okay? It's the elite against us people that they're keeping in the dark. These districts are coming out, people are finding out, okay? There is extra worlds out there. There are extra lands past Antarctica. There's another sun. You're going to get this in Vose. You have a chance. You have a chance to forgive yourself by apologizing to a vast majority of your followers and listeners who you just scorned and spit on because you couldn't get rid of Soros's best friend's philosophy and misinterpretations and mistranslations. Go look at the critiques of Sitchin. Go look at what etymologists are saying about Sitchin. Go look at the archaeologists who study Sumerian tablets today, and they will tell you Sitchin is a joke, and he was either grossly incompetent or, what I think, purposely duping suckers like you.